Hello friends, this is your friend Bhushan with another edition of Daily News Analysis. Today we are going to discuss very important articles which were featured in the Hindu and in Indian Express newspapers today. But the first important article that we are going to discuss is about the caste census. See, the central government has officially declared that they are going to conduct the caste census along with the official population census. That is yet to happen. Although from the perspective of prelims, you must understand this particular census related debate is very vital. In PYQs particularly regarding this, you must have seen the PYQs about the history of the census, the history of the caste census itself. Particularly census in India has huge British colonial legacy as well. So that aspect we are going to discuss as well in this article. So we are going to take a 360-degree view of this particular article from the perspective of mostly prelims, okay? Because most of the time from the perspective of mains, you must have studied the caste census, its pros and its cons, the debate surrounding it, the problems, the issues surrounding the demand for caste census and all those things already. So from the perspective of prelims, we are going to discuss some important constitutional provisions, at the same time some important historical legacy when it comes to overall census as well. So let's dive into it. So particularly, as I said earlier, important from the perspective of GS2 and Indian society as well. Most of the time, you will find the mains question on caste census because most of the time it is in news, okay? So what exactly is in the news? So what the news currently is about, it is about the caste census being conducted along with the first digital census that we are going to conduct, okay? Officially, the decennial census, the population census has to happen around 2021, but that time, due to COVID and other issues, the government postponed it. So essentially it is yet to happen. So in the subsequent sort of development, now the government is going to conduct caste census, officially the caste census along with the census, the population census, okay? Very important news, and that population census will be first digital census, very important from the perspective of prelims. See, earlier what used to happen, particularly in 2011 census, you must have seen the socio-economic caste census. So SECC data becomes a base for many of the government schemes. See, at the end of the day, for effective government policies and effective implementation of the schemes, the data is very vital. So accurate data and accuracy of the overall sort of the data ecosystem is very vital from the perspective of governance and the schemes implementation at the ground level, so that there is a targeted implementation of the scheme itself. So from that perspective, particularly when it comes to, as I was telling you about socio-economic caste census of 2011, in that census, the number of castes that were mentioned by the people is more than 1,000. So you can imagine the confusion that it created. So now, to avoid that sort of confusion, what the government will do is it will use drop-down based coded caste directory to avoid duplication. So to avoid duplication and to actually measure the data more accurately, they will use this first digital mobile based application, and in that also there is a drop down coded caste directory. So you just have to tick on that drop down option whenever obviously that person will come to your door for the caste census or the general population census as well. So very importantly, it also shows the progress of India, the progress of the success of Digital India mission as well, that we are going to conduct the first digital census ever, okay? So what exactly is this caste census, okay? Particularly, when it comes to the definition of the caste census, it refers to the systematic enumeration of all castes in the population. Obviously, see, essentially what it does, the caste census does, it measures or enumerates all castes in the population, their numerical strength, their geographical spread and their socio-economic characteristic as well. Very vital. from the perspective of wholesale or holistic definition of the caste census. So sometimes you have to write such definitions which are in a very few words it succinctly mention the holistic meaning of the term itself. Okay, so from that perspective, unlike the general population census which focuses on demographic data, obviously generally the population census focus mostly on demographic data. Demographic data, the meaning of what is the meaning of demographic data? It is about sex, age, all the related demography of the population. Caste census aims to capture social stratification. This term is important. You must have heard this term or studied this term in Indian society. For sociology optional students, it is a whole new arena of caste and social stratification, especially for policy and welfare planning. We are going to discuss some important implication of the caste census being conducted as well shortly. So this is about caste census. See, the historical background is also very important. From the perspective of history, in pre-independence era, as I earlier said, there is a first caste census conducted. When it was conducted, it was started in way back in 1881 with the first synchronized census under the British. So in 1881, the British particularly conducted such type of caste-based enumeration. Then after that, there is 1931 census as well, the last census to record comprehensive caste data for all communities in India. This remains the only complete caste data post 1881, often cited in policy documents. So obviously, most of the time, as I earlier said, data is very, very essential, very, very vital for policy making and policy implementation purposes. So and in a way, it becomes recorded in the record books as well. So from that perspective, 1931 caste census conducted by British is important. What is the scenario when it comes to post-independence India? From 1951 to 2011, the census of India recorded only the caste for SCs and STs. See, this is very, very important factor. Most of you may not know this fact that our census from 1951 onwards to 2011, what they recorded, it is not like they didn't record the caste. What they did record the caste, but of SCs and STs only. Okay, as per the constitutional mandate. We are going to see the constitutional mandate as well. Okay, but what happened is the OBC category, that was the history about in the 1990s about Mandal Commission, and also post that the 27% reservation in jobs for OBCs. The OBCs were never enumerated in the official census ever. Okay, so this is the situation about the post-independence India, and for the first time per se, we are going to conduct the caste census along with the population census. Okay, but what is this 2011 socio-economic caste census, SECC? Although the government conducted it, but they never released the data. So they may be using and they are using this SECC data for the very much targeted policy implementation or in the implementation of the scheme or at the ground level, but they never officially declared the data regarding the caste census. Obviously, there are a lot of fears why it hasn't been declared, or it was not declared at that point of time, from the political reasons to the fear of further fracture in the caste milieu of India is the reason for not sort of publishing the SECC data. Okay, so who conducted it? It was conducted by Rural Development Ministry with the assistance from Ministry of Home Affairs and Registrar General of India. So who is the anchor? It is the Rural Ministry, Rural Development Ministry. So these particular discusses the components of SECC. Dual component is there. There is a rural and urban household socio-economic data, and there is a caste data which is separately recorded in that particular survey. Okay, these are some challenges, not that much important from the perspective of prelims. As I earlier said, very important constitutional and legal provisions whether for the caste census is very, very vital. So constitutional, what is the constitutional basis? It is the supposed constitutional basis is Article 15 and 16. in Article 15 and 16 we have the affirmative action provisions. It essentially enable affirmative action for socially and educationally backward classes, SEBCs. Okay, through that we can infer that there is a basis for the conduction of such census as well. So there is Article 340 as well, provides for the appointment of commission to investigate the conditions of backward classes, Mandal Commission. Yeah, that is National Commission, you must be knowing it already. There is Census Act as well in 1948, empowers the central government to conduct this decennial census. Again, data collected is considered confidential and it is not shared at the individual level. Okay, there are privacy concerns, that's why it is not shared. Mandal Commission 1980 recommended 27% OBC report, 27% reservation for the OBCs. Then see, that reservation is still based on the 1931 caste data. Can you imagine the 27% OBC reservation actually recommended by Mandal Commission, given at that point of time based on 1931 caste census data. So very sort of ancient sort of data, I will say. So considering all these factors, let's see some commissions and their reports. See, most of the time from the perspective of prelims, you may be asked to actually identify the commission and the reports associated. Okay, so majorly it is not that much important, but you must know some commissions and their important reports. Okay, so there is a first backward class commission, which is obviously Kaka Kalelkar Commission. What it did is it is the first attempt to identify backward classes. So this is very important fact. Okay, first committee to ever identify the backwardness of the backward classes is obviously the Kaka Kalelkar committee. Just remember that. Okay, there is Mandal Commission, as I said earlier. There is Rangarajan Committee in 2014. It is about reviewing methodology of poverty and estimation. It is about they are more focused on the poverty estimation. What is the latest? The latest is Justice Rohini Commission. Okay, you must have seen the news about the Justice Rohini Commission. It was tasked with sub-categorization of OBCs. Okay, sub-categorization among OBCs. Very important mandate that committee had. Okay, so this particular slide here actually discusses the caste census and the debate surrounding it from the perspective of pros and cons. Okay, so most of the time from the perspective of mains, you must know what are the pros and what are the say benefits and what are some drawbacks of the conduction of the caste census. Particularly accurate data for the welfare program, evidence-based policy making, addressing social inequalities, empowering marginalized communities. Okay, this is one of the foremost arguments given in support of conducting the caste census, so that we can marginalize we can empower the marginalized community. Very vital. Okay, and how do we do it? Obviously, if we have the data which section of the society is marginalized, we will actually target our development schemes, our development or growth concerns to that particular sector. Okay, this is the case. Okay, so instead of going wholesale, we are actually going to target certain section, which is pretty much a demand based exercise. So that will actually push that particular section above the development parameters, which are considered basic human development parameters. Okay, so from that perspective, caste census is also very important because it will give us more accurate granular level data for the effective implementation of the scheme. But what are the problems with the conduction of the caste census? One of the foremost arguments earlier given by the central government, obviously, for not conducting the caste census is reinforcement of caste identities. Very vital. Okay, most of the time caste is the reality of Indian society. Even after almost 60-70 years of independence, we are not able to get rid of the caste. Why? Because most of the time we are essentially exposed to the harsh realities of the caste itself. Okay, so from that perspective, the reinforcement of caste identities is one of the foremost challenge when it comes to the caste census. Then about politicization of data, privacy concerns is there, overburdening bureaucracy. Yeah, overburdening, you must have seen, who conducts the census. You must have observed that most of the time the people who goes door to door, home to home, these are the people essentially are teachers and lower level bureaucratic persons. So most of the time they are overworked because there is no separate agency which conduct, or there is no separate manpower agency to conduct this census. Essentially that all comes down to the government teachers and lower level employees. Okay, so essentially it is sort of a overburden on that particular bureaucracy as well. Okay, so about the census, so let's see broadly the census. The census of India is undertaken by Office of Registrar General. Very important. You must know who conducts the general population census. It is conducted by Registrar General and Census Commissioner under Ministry of Home Affairs. Very vital. Okay, so for the population census, which ministry is involved? It is the Ministry of Home Affairs. Very important. And that SECC 2011 was conducted by essentially Ministry of Rural Development. Okay, very vital. Again, this particular list slide here also discusses the legal framework associated with census. As I earlier said, there is Census Act of 1948. You must have seen another news today also regarding, obviously, caste census is about the central minister saying that the caste census is being conducted by states in recent times are surveys. They are not official legal caste census as such. Why is he saying that? Is it essentially under Article 246, the Constitution of India, census comes under union list only. So states don't have the power to conduct the census, but states can be resorted to conduct surveys. Okay, this is generally the sort of the meaning of this particular provision here. Okay, so essentially the census, population census, is under the union list. Very vital. Article 15, 16 and 340, as I earlier mentioned, it is the one of the foremost basis for constitutional basis for the census as well. This particular here discusses the stages of the census process. There is a pre-census preparation, then there is census phase as well. See, there is census mapping, census enumeration areas, training aspects there are. Okay, census house listing phase, population enumeration. See, now all these phases will be digital. Okay, essentially. So the training aspect of it is also very vital. So census categories and data collection, how they collect the data. As I earlier said, there is a demographic data collection, then there is socio-economic data, and there is a geographic data as well. It also actually gives us information about migration patterns, okay, and other basic amenities available in the household. Okay, very important. At a granular level, we get to know our own people's developmental priorities and developmental aspects of growth. Okay, so importance of census data. Data is always very vital for the effective implementation of the schemes. As they say, data is the new oil. So it is per se very vital. Okay, from the perspective of digital India, from the perspective of effective implementation of the government schemes, okay, for the targeted implementation in particular, and for the overall good governance, data is very vital. Okay, so from economic planning to social development, you can see the data need of the accurate data is very vital. Okay, this is the practice question, particularly this is one of the PYQs. Just comment your answer in the comment section. Very vital, very important PYQ. Okay, so the next important article that we are going to discuss is about Supreme Court declaring right to digital access as a fundamental right under Article 21, right to life and liberty. Most of the time the scope of right to life and liberty is ever expanding under, essentially what Article 21 actually does, it gives obviously the right to life and liberty, that is there, but most importantly there is a word called due process, procedure established by law. But over the period of time, the judicial activism has turned this particular phrase essentially into due process of law. So due process of law becomes much more expanded version of procedure established by law. Okay, because essentially it focuses on the fairness of the provisions and all those things. Okay, so from that perspective, the right to life is expanded. The expansion of right to life and liberty is one of the foremost features of our constitution, and the role played by judiciary in that is very, very vital. So now what the judiciary has interpreted is digital access is a part of the fundamental right to life and liberty. Very important from the perspective of prelims. You may be directly asked whether digital right to digital access is under Article 19, 21. Most of the time you will get confused between whether it is under Article 19 or under Article 21. So you can you can actually confirm, you can actually say that it is under article right to life and liberty, Article 21. Okay, so let's deep dive into it. So what the Supreme Court has said here is inclusive and meaningful digital access to e-governance and welfare delivery system is part of the fundamental right to life and liberty. Okay, as I earlier mentioned about good governance and data-based governance and all those things, e-governance is emerging as a foremost area. You must have seen, most of the time all the schemes are digital nowadays. So e-governance and the access to the digital and the digital access to such e-governance scheme is very, very vital. Most of the time there is a digital divide in our society. That digital divide is there based on sex as well, is there based on where you live as well, whether you live in rural or urban area. Also, most of the time it is about internet connectivity itself. So we are working on all these factors. Okay, we are working on the digital divide, and you must have seen the government's efforts when it comes to bridging the digital divide. But essentially what the Supreme Court now has said is the state should provide an inclusive digital ecosystem to marginalized, underprivileged sections of the society. Okay, that's what the government is also strive to do. Okay, and it is doing. Okay, the state's obligation under Article 21, right to dignified life, under Article 14, 15, 38 of the Constitution must encompass the responsibility to ensure that digital infrastructure, government portals and all those things are universally accessible and responsive to vulnerable and marginalized sections. So essentially it is the expansion of the right to life and liberty itself. Okay, that provision. So anyway, it has been expanded. It is being interpreted in a more broader way by the Supreme Court itself from the last few decades itself. Okay, but another important aspect of digital access is whether right to the internet is fundamental right or not. Okay, particularly this particular question, many times recently we have seen the Kerala High Court also stating that right to internet is a fundamental right. But what the Supreme Court has said, in India, the right to access the internet is considered an extension of right to freedom of speech and expression under Article 19(1)(a). Obviously, it is not per se exclusive or not per se well defined right, but it is interpreted under Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution by Supreme Court, in which judgment in the internet shutdown case, popularly known as Anuradha Bhasin versus Union of India, very, very important judgment. Okay, so in that particular judgment in 2017, what the Supreme Court accepted is importance of internet access for the exercise of various fundamental rights, including the right to free speech, education and business. Okay, so it has been interpreted as a part of Article 19(1)(a). Very, very important. Just remember, right to internet is a fundamental right, although it is inferred fundamental right under 19(1)(a). It is not directly mentioned. Okay, it is not exclusive right, that you must understand as well. So the words are very, very vital here. So this particular chart here, effectively sort of gives you the slam shot of the interpretation of the right to life and liberty, Article 21 broadly. So what is included in the right to life and liberty? Okay, you will be surprised. There is Obviously, right to privacy is a very famous judgment. Same year, K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India case, you must be knowing that already. Right to livelihood in Olga Tales case, or even right to health and clean environment, very very important. Or right to education, you must have you must be knowing this already. Obviously, there is Article 21A, which is there as well. Right to sleep also is interpreted under Article 19, under Article 21 of the Constitution. Right to sleep, or even right to delayed execution, digital access, now they have interpreted it. So very funny sort of rights are there under Article 21. Even you will be surprised to know the list of articles there are. And most of the time, the expansion itself creates a very huge question. What about the legal implementation of that particular right? Okay, right to sleep, what does it mean? If someone is not able to sleep, can they approach the Supreme Court for such trivial matters? Obviously, there are certain aspects of such expansion of the rights under Article 21, but again, the Supreme Court is on it. Okay, so this is the practice question. Just comment your answer in the comment section. Very important question. Just as I earlier said, read the first statement here very carefully. Okay. So the next important article that we are going to discuss is about the natural hydrogen. Okay, so you must have seen, mostly we have discussed so much about hydrogen, National Green Hydrogen Mission, and the importance of hydrogen. There are many UPSC PYQs over the years on the utility of hydrogen as well. But why this hydrogen is very very vital? We have seen the importance of hydrogen when it comes to renewable energy. Okay, so for the decarbonization purposes and our own energy security, hydrogen access and the hydrogen based economy is very very vital. Okay, what this particular article in the Hindu now argues is there is a scope for natural hydrogen to emerge as a fuel of the future. See, hydrogen being very reactive and very unstable, generally it is considered it cannot be found, or it is rarely found in the geological sort of geological formations. Okay, but the recent discoveries has actually shattered this particular belief. So it is considered that in future this natural hydrogen which we will be able to find through the exploration and all those things will emerge. It will emerge as a fuel of the future, which is, as I already told you, anyway the hydrogen is green hydrogen in particular is the effective source of renewable energy for us. Okay, and that's why we have the green hydrogen mission. But before going briefly into the actual article itself, let's see some types of hydrogen. You must have seen this already. Okay, so prominently we know green hydrogen. What is the green hydrogen? It is produced through electrolysis, and what is the source of it is renewable energy. Okay, that much we know. That's why we are investing so heavily on our solar energy, wind energy, that is there. Okay, but again we have the special National Green Hydrogen Mission as well, which is undergoing a tremendous revolution in recent years. Now there is a grey hydrogen as well. What is the process? It is a stream reforming, and what is the source? It is a natural gas. So most of the time, from the perspective of prelims, you may be asked to match the pairs, or we will have that sort of chart as well, where they actually ask you how many pairs are correctly matched. So in that particular question, you must know this particular thing here. So grey hydrogen is from natural gas, just remember that. Or black hydrogen, obviously it is from coal. Okay, so black hydrogen is produced from coal, obviously through the process of gasification. Pink hydrogen is also there, can you imagine? And it is produced or sourced from nuclear energy, electrolysis, through the electrolysis process. There is turquoise as well. Turquoise is through natural gas, but through pyrolysis. There is yellow hydrogen, which is from the solar energy, again through electrolysis. Most importantly, another important is blue hydrogen, which is steam reforming again, but the carbon that is emitted is captured. So through the carbon capture storage methods, we are actually capturing that particular carbon at the source itself. So, so it is not getting you know, it is not getting mixed in the atmosphere. So, natural gas is again the source. Okay, very important, just remember the sources, okay, particularly. So, what the article argues is it bats for the natural hydrogen exploration, है ना. So, what exactly, you know, or where exactly do we find the natural hydrogen is the mountain ranges with tectonic activity. So, the article says that recent studies indicates the tectonically active mountain ranges will have these natural gas sort of source as well, okay, like Alps, Pyrenees or Himalayas. So, that means we have very good chance of discovering natural hydrogen in our own Himalayas or sub-Himalayan subduction zones as well, okay. There are volcanic rocks, basaltic formations and other volcanic rocks contain minerals that facilitate the generation of hydrogen. So, you know, our Deccan Plateau is also basaltic. So, most of the time we have the chance of discovering the hydrogen source in those formations as well. Abandoned coal mines can be one source, and ophiolite complexes. Okay, you do not have to, you know the meaning of ophiolites. Okay, do not go that deep into the geological aspect of it. Just remember, it can be naturally found in those formations. So, Andaman Islands or Himalayan foothills, as I earlier said, those subduction zones can also be the source for natural hydrogen. So, but you know, article also mentions some recent discoveries. So, it has been discovered in the France almost $92 billion worth of discovery is there in the Lorraine and Moselle region of France, okay, in 23 itself. Other discoveries, you know, other regions like Australia, US, Spain, Albania, South Korea, Canada, they are all actually you know, sort of engaged in the discovery of hydrogen ships. So, there are a lot of startups as well which are emerging very fast to tap this particular resource. So, it is a growing field, okay, that's what that particular article argues. So, you know, what is the potential when it comes to India? Hard rock formations, ophiolite complexes, greenstone volcanic sedimentary complexes and active hydrothermal systems and vents. All these particularly are found in India, okay. So, there is, you know, hot springs regions where we can find these hydrogen deposits, or there is Dharwa, Singhbhum, you know, that Deccan Plateau as I earlier mentioned, okay. There are ophiolite complexes in Andaman and Himalayan region as well, where we can find the natural hydrogen. But again, you know, finding it is different, and extraction and you know, getting it out of the ground is different, okay. So, there are challenges, obviously exploration challenges are there, there is extraction challenge, regulatory hurdles are there still. Extraction in particular, you know, to extract the hydrogen, you know, finding is one thing, but extracting and the technology associated is always expensive. So, we have to look at the input costs as well, so that the technology itself becomes cost effective for us. So, that challenge is there. So, it is, as I earlier said, it is a very emerging field and it can emerge as a fuel of future, because at the end of the day it will give us the hydrogen, the precious hydrogen that we are now artificially create, okay, through the various processes. So, for that particular, you know, when it comes to that particular artificial creation of hydrogen, we have green hydrogen mission, which is always in news, okay. You must know when it was launched, which ministry is involved or which ministry is spearheading it. It was launched in 23. MNRE is the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. What is the objective? To make India a global hub for production and usage, export of green hydrogen and its derivatives. See, the target is very important. The targets are green hydrogen production. What is our target is the production of 5 million metric tons per annum by 2030. 5 MMT per annum by 2030. Associated renewable energy capacity 125 gigawatts. So, it can actually help us to fulfill our promise when it comes to climate change under Paris Agreement as well, okay. Total investment almost 8 lakh crore is expected. Again, job creation due to that is about 6 lakh crore. Okay. Reduction of CO2, as I said, one of the foremost thing about the National Green Hydrogen Mission is about our own decarbonization efforts as well, about diversification of our own energy basket. Okay. So these are some of the key components. Okay, there is a site. What is site? Strategic interventions from green hydrogen transition. See, these terms are important, very, very vital. So what exactly is this site? It gives financial incentive for what? For electrolyzer manufacturing and green hydrogen production itself. Okay, so that site, it is essentially a financial initiative under the National Green Hydrogen Mission. There are pilot projects which are initiated. There is a research and development wing as well, policy, and it is enabling policy framework. There are many public-private partnerships which are emerging due to the investment in green hydrogen as well. You can see in the graph the capacity, installed capacity. So Gujarat and Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu in particular are again emerging as a leaders when it comes to green hydrogen. So this is the practice question associated with that. Just comment your answer in the comment section. So as I said, the prelims is approaching very fast. One of the foremost things to understand when it comes to solving the question is reading the statement very, very carefully. So at the end of the day, see, many times what happens is you may get confused by rereading of the statement again and again. But again, if you have the answer for in the first attempt itself, just mark it and move forward. Okay, do not overthink on anything. Very, very important. Read the question carefully, avoid overthinking. Okay, very important to actually solve the prelims paper effectively. Okay, so the next important article that we are going to discuss is about dark matter and dark energy. See, this particular article was there in the science page of the Hindu. It actually talks about the clumpiness of the universe. Okay, per se the article itself is not that important, but the term that are featured in that particular article is very, very vital. So we are going to discuss such very important terms from the perspective of prelims. Okay, I will not go too deep into the article itself because it is very technical. From the perspective of science and technology, you just have to know the meaning of the terms and some basics about the cosmological terms that are mentioned in that particular article. So, but again, just to give you the brief account of that particular article is essentially, again, cosmology is a very exciting field because a lot of stuff is getting invented nowadays due to the technological inventions. Okay, so essentially the early universe must have been remarkably uniform, they concluded, with only small variations in density. Okay, so after the Big Bang, the variation in density of the stars or the matter that was dispersed is studied, and what they assumed is the density would have been uniform by that time. But so what happened? Last year, the data from the dark energy spectroscopic instrument in Arizona in US, what it suggested is the push of dark energy represented by the cosmological constant lambda in the ACDM model is weakening, and the universe may actually be decelerating over the time. See, it is generally assumed that due to the dark energy there is an accelerated expansion of the universe. Okay, so I know you are getting confused a lot here. So that's why we are going to discuss what is the meaning of dark matter and dark energy first, how they came to be, and then how dark energy is accelerating the expansion. But the recent studies indicate that the dark energy is weakening. That means that accelerated expansion is also weakening. So in a way it will decelerate over the time due to the weakness of dark energy. The possibility of dark energy getting weaker means that the pace of expansion of the universe will eventually slow down and may at some point even turn negative. Very, very vital. In that case, it is not inconceivable that the universe will collapse on itself in a big crunch. Okay, so we will have big crunch, instead of Big Bang by that time. See, all these things are just studies. These are all just speculations, because neither dark matter nor dark energy is per se observed in the universe directly yet. We don't know what exactly is this dark matter and dark energy. But we certainly know the presence of them in the universe itself. Okay, so let's see some of the key terms that were we just mentioned in that particular the gist of the article itself. Okay, there is a cosmic microwave background, that term. Okay, CMB, very very important. CMB, what exactly is the CMB? It is a faint glow of radiation left over after the Big Bang about 13.8 billion years ago. See, essentially the universe came to be from one point source, that is the Big Bang. That is the singularity, and that singularity we had the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago, and we have from that particular singularity there is a Big Bang event, and then the expansion of the universe. At that point of time, what happened is essentially it is the faint glow of radiation from the Big Bang itself. So from the initial time period of the Big Bang, this was the light which is expanding, which is in background with the expansion of the universe. So we can observe this particular light or the radiation. It is the oldest light in the universe and offers a snapshot of what the universe looked like when it was just 3,80,000 years old. Very young universe. What it was like at that point of time, we can certainly assume from observation of the CMB, cosmic microwave background. Okay, so essentially it used to study the early universe temperature, density and structures. So this particular graph here you must have, diagram here you must have already seen. You can actually observe the dark patches here. So essentially there are temperature and density variation that is shown in that particular cosmic microwave background radiation as well. So a lot of the times such kind of observations we can conclude or infer the condition of the universe at that point of time. Very young universe at that point of time. Okay, so we will always have CMB in our observations. Why? Because it is the oldest light or oldest radiation there is. Okay, it is there since the birth of the universe. Okay, rather after 3,80,000, obviously after the Big Bang. Okay, very young universe. Okay, you can see here this particular diagram here actually effectively shows that particular event. This is the event, this is the Big Bang, then we have the expansion of the universe like that. Okay. So what exactly is this dark matter? So dark matter is a mysterious invisible substance that doesn't emit or absorb light but exerts gravitational pull. It holds galaxies together. So see, this particular dark matter is essentially a mysterious form of matter which doesn't emit light, nor we don't know whether it absorbs light or not, or what sort of particles are involved in it. We don't know yet because they are yet to be directly discovered or directly observed. Okay, but we can infer from the various studies that there is this thing called dark matter. Why? Because most of the time it is exerting the extra gravitational pull. Okay, see, what happens is there is this tussle between the gravitational pull and the expansion. Most of the time the galaxies are revolving, rotating and revolving at the same time. So they are revolving around each other, around other galaxies. So most of the time what happens, if they are revolving over the period of time, what happens is the gravitational pull may not be able to hold the galaxy together because the rotation becomes so fast. So to counter that rotation or revolution aspect, there is always the balance maintained. And what is that balance? It is the dark matter, which will act as the extra gravitational pull that is there. Okay, so that the galaxies always sort of be in a position together. Okay, this is from the various observations we can see the existence of dark matter. So dark matter was predicted way back in 1930s. I am not able to remember the scientist's name. Just comment your answer in the comment section. Who termed that term dark matter and dark energy? Comment your answer in the comment section. Very important from the perspective of prelims. So what is dark energy? Dark energy is an unknown form of energy that pushes space apart, causing the universe expansion to accelerate. So as I earlier said, in 1920s, what Hubble, the scientist Hubble, observed is the universe is expanding. Okay, over the period of time in 1990s or say 1980s, through various observations or earlier predictions of general relativity of Einstein, essentially what we observed, this universe, the expansion of the universe is getting accelerated. So essentially the galaxies are going apart from each other with accelerated speed over the period of time. So we are not able to actually account for this accelerated expansion. So what is assumed, it may be due to dark energy. Essentially it is the counter to the gravitational pull. So it will act as an anti-gravity force or energy. So it is opposite of dark matter. In nutshell, you can say it is opposite of dark matter because it exerts the expanding force. Instead, dark matter exerts gravitational pull force. So together they make up about 95% of the universe. So but we don't know yet fully understand their nature. As I earlier said, nobody knows what exactly forms this dark matter and dark energy. Dark matter particularly, we have we can to certain extent we can infer some things about dark matter, but dark energy again is very, very mysterious. So this particular diagram, the pie chart here effectively mentions what is some percentage of overall observable universe contained in the dark matter. So dark matter is around 27%. The observable ordinary matter is about 5%, 4.9%, and dark energy is about 58%, 60%. So essentially you can see, so universe is mostly made of dark energy. 60% is dark energy. What we see, the planets, the galaxies and all those observable material or matter is only around 5%. And it is assumed that dark matter will constitute another 27-28%. Then around 60% or even 70% in certain estimates, dark energy is there. So despite the abundance, we are not able to surely know what exactly are these particles. Okay, so so if in prelims the question comes, suppose the statement is dark matter is the unknown radiation in a microwave background radiation itself, then that statement is wrong. Okay, see, what they will do, what UPSC does is essentially essentially make the statement true. Okay, seemingly make the statement true, but essentially it is not. Why? Because they use the keywords of cosmology in it. Okay, so but do not get confused. Nobody knows what exactly is dark matter and dark energy yet. Okay, so that should clarify certain things. Most of the time, many times we hear these words, red shift and blue shift. What exactly what exactly is the meaning of both these terms? So both these terms are based on the Doppler effect. Okay, so see, Doppler effect is very, very vital while studying the universe. In astronomy, in cosmology, we can see the red shift, the blue shift, and we can infer some things. It is all based on Doppler effect. Even in a day-to-day life, you can observe the Doppler effect. What exactly is this Doppler effect? It is the change in frequency or wavelength of a wave as the source moves relative to the observer. Okay. Generally, you must know that frequency is inversely proportional to wavelength. Okay, so this relation you must know, they are inversely proportional. So if one increases, another decreases. Okay, for non-science background students, this particular relationship is very, very vital. So particularly in light, what does this Doppler effect imply is, if an object moves away from the observer, the light shifts to red. Light shifts to red in the sense towards red wavelength. Okay, okay. You must have seen the light spectrum, the various spectrum. There is red, there is yellow, there is blue as well. Most of the time that VIB pattern, or you must be knowing the light pattern. Okay, so if the light is moving away from the observer, the light, it is said that the light is red shifted. Okay, so just remember, if say in the data from the astronomical observations, we got this red shift anytime, that means that particular object or that particular planet or that particular galaxy or that particular star is moving away from us. Because why? The light after traveling, it is red shifted. Okay, that means it is that particular thing is moving away from us. When it moves towards us, it shifts to blue. Okay, that is called blue shift. Okay, so just remember, moving away, red shift; moving towards us, blue shift. Very easy to remember. Just focus on that particular aspect here. Okay, gravitational lensing is another such concept. It happens when the massive objects like galaxy clusters bend light from objects behind them like a magnifying glass. So this particular diagram here correctly depicts this. Suppose this is Earth and you are observing here, and this is the some galaxy, and this is bigger galaxy in between. So the light traveling from this galaxy, if you are observing that light from the Earth, it gets bent due to the gravitational effect inserted by this particular bigger galaxy. So essentially, it feels like the light is magnified due to the impact of the gravitational pull of this middle galaxy. Okay, so it is caused by gravity and helps astronomer. Obviously, if something is magnified per se, we are able to access lot of information from that particular source here, because the light itself is magnified. So more resolution, more sort of data inferences we can get from that. Okay, major cosmic structure and its expansion, map dark matter also more clearly. So essentially, it has many applications. Okay, these are some projects which are involved in the measurement of dark matter and dark energy. See, there is famous Euclid mission of ESA, there is dark energy survey, and there is obviously James Webb Space Telescope. Some important missions you must know. Many times, sometimes they can ask, UPSC can ask the missions associated as well. Some proposed missions are also there. There is NASA mission Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope, which can observe the dark matter, dark energy. There is PRX by NASA as well. Okay, etc. etc. So just go through these missions, very important from the perspective of prelims. You just know the terms. Okay, that's it. Okay, this particular practice question is very vital as well. It actually will test your conceptual clarity in these particular subjects. Just comment your answer in the comment section. Okay, very important question, by the way. So particularly in decoded section, we are going to discuss very important analysis given by M.K. Narayanan, very esteemed sort of writer he is. So what he actually argues in this particular article is the world has moved from rules based order to shambolic disorder. So he analyzes how the world has moved from rules based order to currently shambolic disorder. Okay, very important article from the perspective of GS2. You may be asked direct questions, how the changing world order is challenging India's positions on various matters. Okay, very important from the perspective of GS2. Okay, the concept of international rules based world order, very vital. So this particular PYQ is there from 2019, I guess. Yeah, so 2019, it is 250 words. The long sustained image of India as a leader of oppressed and marginalized nations has disappeared on account of newfound role in emerging global order. Okay, so emerging global order is something, obviously from 2019 onwards, the world order which has emerged is very different. Okay, so it is pre-COVID time. The current time, it is post-COVID sort of. Okay, so what exactly the Mr. M.K. Narayanan argues? Currently, the world has been witnessing uncertainty across many sectors. Uncertainty is the feature of the current world order. The problematic conditions in different areas of the globe has forced the policymakers, strategists and business leaders to prepare for most difficult time ahead. Yeah, the more difficult times are ahead actually. So essentially, what caused this sort of disruption, sudden disruption? Okay, leader led disruption, very very vital. Okay, obviously one of the foremost anchor for this sort of disruption and uncertainty is obviously Mr. Trump's election and his first 100 days in the office. Okay, very important. Obviously the tariff war is one such disruption which has actually shattered rules based global order. So essentially the importance of WTO has been reduced to a certain extent. Every country, every nation is trying to have its own trade deal with United States. Okay, so essentially, the leader-led disruption is one of the foremost aspect of disordered, shambolic global order now. Another important leaders which are mentioned in the article is Xi Jinping of China and Putin. Putin particularly is again involved in Russia-Ukraine war, that is disrupting the supply chains many times. There is a fear of third world war as well due to that. Okay, obviously Xi Jinping is actually doing Xi Jinping things in Southeast Asia. He is visiting many Asian nations. He is actually pressuring Taiwan. All those things, particularly China, remains India's strategic sort of challenge. Okay, the situation in Europe is not particularly rosy as well. Essentially, the Trump's policies and first 100 days has broken the transatlantic consensus which was earlier there. Essentially, it is a NATO-based consensus which is in shambles now. So essentially, from conflict in Russia to over dependence on US for the security aspect is creating its own issues in Europe itself. Okay, obviously when it comes to Europe, there are other aspects like migration issues, rise of xenophobic sentiments and all those things. Okay, so per se the European condition is currently very much volatile. Okay, what is the situation in West Asia? West Asia is also is in conflict all the time. Israel-Palestine conflict is there. Israel is again he has resumed Gaza war. In recent times we have seen post the brief pause. Then Israel is also contemplating strike to destroy Iran's nuclear capabilities. In recent times we have seen the talks between US and Iran, although informal, but Israel is again exerting pressure on those talks as well. So Israel is emerging as an anchor in the West Asian disruption. Okay, disorder in Syria. Syria, we have seen the ouster of Bashar al-Assad post that its new leader Ahmad al-Shara appears to be on the brink of collapse. Very very vital. Particularly, see, Syria problem is there since long. Okay, so there is minority majority conflict in that region as well. The army and security services has been disbanded and political parties have been abolished. So essentially, it is volatile time for Syria as well. At the same time, Israel-Syria sort of border is also under tension. So Israel again, exerting pressure on current Syrian president or Syrian leader. Conflict between Ethiopia and Eritrea has re-emerged across North Africa. North Africa is emerging as a total chaos sort of. Okay, that is also creating a new problem. We have seen the Sudan crisis. We have also seen various aspects when it comes to armed insurgencies and military coups as well. Okay, particularly when it comes to Turkey, the President Erdogan and his recent action of arresting his political opponent, it has disrupted the democratic sort of position of Turkey. Expansion of Islamic State. Islamic State is again emerging as a threat to global security and global peace. Islamic State affiliates are moving out of West Asian regions, carrying out series of attacks in Mozambique, DRC, pockets in North Africa, extending activities into Afghanistan as well. So re-emergence of Islamic State will be a major result in near future due to that as well. So what are the events in Asia? Okay, whether Asia is immune to this disruption or not? Okay, obviously not. The global shambolic disorder is there all around. Okay, Afghanistan and Pakistan both are facing internal turmoil, tensions. Alongside this, we have come up with crosshairs of terrorist groups such as IS and affiliates. Pakistan in particular, it has the habit of sponsoring terrorists. It is one of the foremost, sponsor of state sponsored terrorism in this region, and it is actually creating problems for whole of South Asia. Fresh wave of terror attacks we have seen. Recent Pahalgam, very cruel, I will say, terror attack in Kashmir. Obviously there is a Pakistani hand in that as well. Countries such as Bangladesh, Myanmar and Nepal currently face internal turmoils. Okay, all these countries are currently facing internal turmoils. There is US-China tariff war as well. Recent times we have seen China threatening countries against acceding to US demands. So essentially countries are, tussling between the US and China rivalry. Per se, all this is creating the illusion, or rather, the challenge of aggressive aggression of China. Okay, why I said illusion is because seemingly China is exerting the pressure on the countries, but at the same time, it is actually being accommodative to its neighbors, to its partners in certain areas as well. But it is aggressive when it comes to securing its own national interest. As the US takes backseat, Southeast Asia is seeing fresh signs of China's economic and peace offensive. As I said, Xi Jinping, is again interfering in many of these Southeast Asian, ASEAN countries' internal matters, or sort of developing or expanding Chinese influence that in that particular region. China-India rivalry remains more intense than ever. Very true, very vital aspect. Okay, although our northern border is currently calm, but you never know. Chinese intentions are never particularly clear. Okay, the salami slicing techniques we all know in Ladakh region. Particularly, China is demonstrating its naval strength in the Indian and Pacific Ocean, going well beyond its nan dash line. As I said earlier, many ASEAN countries are fearing the Chinese interference in their maritime borders as well. Okay. So what is the way forward? Although article only discusses the disruptions in various sort of regions of the world, but here we have mentioned some of the way forward for India, what India can focus on currently. Economic strength and technological advancement, very vital. India must strive for economic strength and technological advancement. Focus on domestic growth, technological transformation, digital transformation, as India is doing. So our own goal of developed India by 2047 is very vital from that perspective. Strategic partnerships and multilateral agreements, whether with US or many like-minded countries, including EU, or even Japan, Korea, etc., is very vital as well. And India should emerge as a voice of global South, very vital, and it has emerged, by the way. Okay, India is instrumental when it comes to India is instrumental when it comes to the voice of global South. Okay, it has demonstrated the leadership through the G20 and other multilateral forums as well, adapting security strategy. So many times what we have to focus on is our improving on our defense capabilities as well. So that we also have to focus on asymmetric capabilities. See, developing asymmetric capabilities is very vital. We have seen the hybrid warfare emerging from, the cyber is becoming much more part of the overall warfare scenario. So that aspect is very vital. India has to be leader in asymmetric capabilities as well. So in essence, what we can conclude is India's strategy should be based on combination of economic strength, strategic partnership and flexible security approach. By focusing on these key areas, India can navigate the disruptions in the global world order currently. Okay. So this is the practice question, particularly very interesting questions. If you understood the article correctly, you will be able to write this particular question. Thank you. That's it from my side. Like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you again.